The story of the United States is a tale of ambition, struggle, and ultimately triumph, spanning centuries of history and countless pivotal moments. Long before Europeans arrived, indigenous peoples thrived with rich and diverse cultures, each contributing to a vibrant tapestry of life. These Native American tribes spanned the continent, each with unique traditions, languages, and ways of life, from the Great Plains to the eastern woodlands. The arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492 marked a turning point in history, forever altering the fate of the continent. His voyages opened the door to European exploration and colonization, setting the stage for centuries of change and conflict. Spanish conquistadors, driven by the lure of gold and glory, established settlements in South America and the Caribbean, leaving a lasting legacy. The English, French, and Dutch soon followed, each vying for control of the New World, leading to a complex web of alliances and rivalries. The English established the first permanent settlement in Jamestown, Virginia in 1607, a foothold that would grow into a thriving colony. Over the next century and a half, 13 colonies took root and flourished, each developing its own distinct identity and culture. Tensions grew between the colonies and Great Britain, fueled by issues of taxation and representation, eventually igniting the flames of revolution and the quest for independence. Long before European explorers set foot on North American soil, a vibrant tapestry of indigenous cultures flourished. Native American tribes lived in harmony with the land, developing complex societies and traditions. From the nomadic hunters of the Great Plains to the agriculturalists of the Southwest, they adapted to diverse environments. They built impressive cities, crafted intricate art, and developed sophisticated systems of governance and trade. The eastern woodlands were home to tribes like the Iroquois Confederacy, known for their political organization. The Great Plains were dominated by nomadic tribes like the Sioux and Cheyenne, who relied on buffalo for survival. These diverse cultures were connected by a deep spiritual bond with the natural world. Discovered land. Life in colonial America was a study in contrasts. For some, it offered the promise of religious freedom and economic opportunity. For others, it meant hardship and conflict with Native Americans. The 13 colonies developed distinct identities and economies. New England focused on shipbuilding, fishing, and trade. The middle colonies thrived on agriculture and commerce. The southern colonies developed plantation economies based on cash crops like tobacco, relying heavily on slave labor. As the colonies prospered, their resentment of British rule grew. The British government imposed taxes on the colonists, sparking outrage and cries of "no taxation without representation." Tensions escalated, culminating in the Boston Massacre of 1770, setting the stage for revolution. Section 5. Declaring Independence, the Birth of a Nation. The year 1776 marked the birth of a new nation founded on liberty and self-government. On July 4th, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. Penned by Thomas Jefferson, it proclaimed that all men are created equal with unalienable rights. The Declaration listed grievances against King George III, declaring the colonies free and independent states. The signing ignited a war for independence, with colonists led by George Washington facing the British Army. Despite setbacks, the colonists persevered, aided by allies like France and Spain. The British surrender at Yorktown in 1781 secured American independence. Section 6, Manifest Destiny, Westward Expansion, and the Louisiana Purchase. With independence secured, the young nation turned its gaze westward, fueled by a belief in its manifest destiny. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803, negotiated by President Thomas Jefferson, doubled the size of the United States. This vast territory included present-day states like Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, and more. The acquisition fueled westward expansion, shaping the nation's identity and providing land for a growing population. Section 7, A Nation Divided, the American Civil War and Reconstruction. The issue of slavery led to the bloodiest conflict in American history, the Civil War, which lasted from 1861 to 1865. By the mid-19th century, the United States was deeply divided over slavery, with tensions escalating rapidly. The southern states, reliant on slave labor for their agricultural economy, fiercely defended the institution. Abolitionists in the North, driven by moral and ethical convictions, demanded its immediate end. The election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860, who opposed the expansion of slavery, proved to be the breaking point. 11 southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America in a bid to preserve their way of life. The Civil War erupted in April 1861 with the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter, marking the beginning of a brutal conflict. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, declaring the freedom of slaves in Confederate territories, a pivotal moment in the war. The Union victory in 1865 ended slavery and preserved the Union, setting the stage for the Reconstruction era that followed. Section 8. From Global Conflict to Superpower, the 20th Century. The 20th century witnessed the United States' emergence as a global superpower. The U.S. entered World War I in 1917, tipping the balance in favor of the Allies. Following the war, the U.S. retreated into isolationism. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 drew the nation back into global conflict. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 propelled the U.S. into World War II. The U.S. played a decisive role in defeating Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. The war's end marked the beginning of the Cold War, shaping global politics for decades. Section 9. The Fight for Equality, the Civil Rights Movement. Despite the end of slavery, African Americans continued to face systemic racism. The Civil Rights Movement sought to dismantle Jim Crow segregation and achieve racial equality. Civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. employed nonviolent resistance to challenge segregation. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 marked significant victories in the fight for racial equality. Section 10. The United States Today, a Global Leader. The United States entered the 21st century as a global leader, facing new challenges and opportunities. The U.S. remains a dominant force in technology, innovation, and popular culture. It continues to play a leading role in global affairs, promoting democracy and human rights. The U.S. grapples with internal divisions, including political polarization and economic inequality. Despite these challenges, the United States remains a beacon of hope and opportunity for many around the world.